Hello, everyone. I'm Jared Jevons, one of KU Law's Dean's Fellows, and in this iteration of Humans of Green Hall, I will help you get to know Professor Stephen Ware. Professor Ware has imparted a great deal of knowledge on myself in my time at KU Law, and I'm excited to be able to help you get to know him today. Before we begin our conversation, I'd like to give our viewers a brief description of Professor Ware's scholarly interests. Professor Ware's interests include judicial selection, alternative dispute resolution, commercial law, bankruptcy, and private law generally. Professor Ware coaches students on the bankruptcy moot court team and is the faculty advisor for the Federalist Society. As well, he teaches courses in ADR, bankruptcy, consumer law, sales, and he was my contracts and secured transactions professor. Our goal with Humans of Green Hall is to emphasize the approachability of our faculty and staff, so we'll keep our conversation light and fun. Stay tuned for our lightning round at the end. In that spirit, my first question for you, Professor Ware, is what would you be doing if you weren't a law professor working at the law school?
I would be a lawyer, a practicing lawyer. I really had a great life experience growing up with a bunch of lawyers, so I kind of knew like being a lawyer was my thing. I'm going to do that. And then it wasn't until college that I saw, hey, law professor, that might be the type of lawyer that I really want to be.
Before becoming a professor at law school, did you practice in private practice?
Yeah, a couple of years at a big New York law firm, and I was a litigator. So obviously, most of the work as a litigator is civil procedure, pleadings, discovery, negotiating, and so forth. But the substantive law, I was fortunate in not really having to specialize and get narrow what kind of cases I was doing. I was able, which was good because I knew I wanted to be a professor, to do sort of one bankruptcy case, one antitrust case, one securities case, one environmental case, one plain old breach of contract case, kind of one of everything, which I thought would be just good background to have some breadth for the classroom, for being able to sort of talk about different things and tie things together.
So for the next question, what's the most impressive meal you can cook without a recipe?
Oh, I am totally an unimpressive chef. When I got divorced, my younger son was 10 years old, and my cooking skills were like a 10-year-old's level of cooking skills. So he and I kind of learned together how to be better and better cooks. But honestly, he shot up way above me in terms of that. He watches like these YouTube cooking videos, and he's the one like saying, hey dad, let's jazz this up with this spice or whatever. So I'm sort of like barely passable dad cook, and he's a real hobbyist.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure you guys had a good time learning together in the kitchen a little bit.
Yeah, we made some like funny, dumb mistakes that we like still laugh about. Like, oh, remember that time we burned this thing that way and then it set off the smoke alarm. And, we just, kind of have the good attitude about, hey, we all live and learn in life, and you gotta chuckle over it.
That definitely seems like the attitude to take. All right, so for the next question, where did you grow up and what was your favorite thing to do as a child?
As people can probably tell from my accent, I grew up in New York, just a little bit north of New York City. And favorite things to do as a kid, it really depends on, is it indoor or outdoor? Because if I was able to be outdoors, weather and so forth, what I really loved doing was diving for balls. Like, I was never a good athlete, but something just really fun about having a baseball glove on my hand and then like diving into the mud to catch the ball like that. I could just do forever, because I would throw a ball if I didn't have a buddy to do it with, throw a ball against, I had like a rock wall, so the bounce didn't come back clean and straight, like it would go in random directions, almost like a hitter, hitting a ball, and a fielder's trying to go in different directions. So diving in the mud for a ball, I loved and did a lot of it. And then if I was indoors, I had the more nerdy hobby that sort of fits my personality, which is model railroading. My parents let me have a big chunk of the basement to build this really like big, elaborate model railroad layout. And it's really fun mix of like the engineering of electricity and the artistic side of like painting little buildings and building hills and so forth. So just a great nerd hobby.
Oh, interesting. So was it, I assume it was one of those electric set stations with the trains, right?
Yeah, so like, lots of kids get that sort of thing as like a, holiday present, birthday present or whatever, and then just going with it, building, making it bigger and more creative, more elaborate, and reading about it. And some people try to make it realistic of like depicting a particular time and place. So there's like a history aspect to it. It's a really good nerdy hobby for when it's too cold or rainy to go outside.
Yeah, I've seen those before, and they can be very elaborate and very impressive.
Yeah, yeah. And most people now do it as part of clubs. In other words, if you're just doing it alone in the basement, it's not as fun as if you have a bunch of other people and you're all doing it together in a club.
Hmm. All right, moving on to the next question. How do you unwind when you're stressed out?
Ah, um, okay, there's an indoor answer and outdoor answer. The indoor answer is recliners. I love reclining with my feet up, coffee and newspaper in the morning or beer in the evening or something, relaxing in the recliner. That's great. And then for outdoors, it's just going for a walk or a run. There's some wooded trails in my neighborhood that are really great for that. Just getting out in nature and taking deep breaths as your feet move. That sort of rhythm, it tends to really make clarity where the bad stuff is no longer foggy and you got a plan. And
Hmm. Yeah, nothing beats kicking back in a lazy boy chair, that's for sure. All right. So, what's one thing you tried for the first time or learned to do during the pandemic?
well, this actually is something I've been doing in the recliner during the pandemic. I have to admit that after like years of telling my kids, this video game thing, I don't understand it. Like, I'm from the generation right before video games exploded. And so my kids going online and playing video games with just random strangers, which is so common, for the last few decades. It was new to me. So I just like kind of a little bit of parental concern, like, hey, kids are interacting with complete strangers. There's something creepy going on here. But then I started doing it. Then during the pandemic, I found my favorite board game, Settlers of Catan. I found that there's an online version of it where I can just play random people, and I have loved that. It's been addictive.
Nice.
And I've gotten blessing from the highest authority at the law school, which you might think is the dean, but it's actually Steve Friedman, the admissions director. He said, if there's any time in life you're going to be addicted to a video game, pandemic is the right time. So I take that as approval for my new addiction.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I've played Settlers of Catan, and I've actually got a question for you about Settlers of Catan that I'll ask you now. And that is, what is your winning strategy in Settlers of Catan? Now, while you think about that, I'll do a quick overview of Settlers Catan for everybody out there. It's a popular strategy and resource game played by loyal, nerdy fans like myself and Professor Ware. And the luck of the game depends on throwing dice to determine the resources available to you to build roads and connect settlements. So
Very, very well said. That's a great explanation of it. So you played it in person in the board game. Have you ever played an online
I have
version of
not
it?
done it online, no.
And when you've played in person, has it usually been 3 or 4 players total, or you ever get bigger?
I've played 4-person only, actually. I haven't played with bigger groups than that.
Well, 4 is the classic. That's the way to do it. But your strategy point, it varies depending on how many players you've got. Different approaches. Where if you only have 3 players, so there's a lot of room on the board, then you can build a lot of roads and expand. Whereas if there's 4 players and the board is more compact, there's less room, so you got to kind of build up. Build cities.
Okay. So so when you do the online play, is it typically with 4 players?
Yeah, yeah, I really like the classic 4-player game, and they've got expansions too. You may know, so both board game and online. You can buy expansions and run with it. So I'm in some of these groups on Facebook, and I see people with just big taking up the whole table with some big giant expansion games. So that's an option.
You like the classic, but would you recommend any expansion packs?
I haven't done enough expanding to recommend, but what I see though, really frankly, is 20 somethings. I see young adults who are sort of able to nerd out on it for hours at a time in big elaborate games. It kind of so for me more it's like if I got 45 minutes for a regular game, that's a good amount of time for a working adult.
Yeah. All right. So for the next question, in what Jeopardy category would you get 100% of the questions correct?
Okay, so I'm not as sharp as I used to be. I have to say that. I think the answer would be classic blues rock music. Music from the 50s and 60s where blues was turning into rock music. That's sort of my specialty. But since we're talking about Jeopardy, which is like trivia questions, I will again mention uh, great KU Law trivia player is the guy I mentioned before, Steve Friedman. He's really good. He and I have done some trivia teams back before the pandemic when it was sort of wiser to go out places and do stuff. And another person affiliated with KU Law, the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, Quentin Lucas. If you ever want to know every ESPN sportscaster for decades, he can practically rattle them off in great detail and earn trivia success by doing so.
That's great to know. I know who to contact now next time I need to go play some trivia. All right. So for the next question, if you could quarantine anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Right here in my house. I'm very fortunate to have a comfortable house, and we can all imagine like some tropical island or some beautiful, glamorous place. But really, pandemic has kind of confirmed the approach I've always had, which is value what you have, appreciate what you have, and don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, where you're always trying to make something better and greater. Enjoy good enough.
Yeah, I love that attitude. And which leads me to the next question. What is your favorite part or parts of your backyard? And for those students who have not taken a class with Professor Ware, he is an avid gardener and takes great pride in his home's backyard and garden. In fact, in contracts, a common character in his hypos is an undergrad who helps mow his lawn. So, Professor Ware, what is your favorite part or parts of your backyard?
Yeah, you really nailed it. I spent a lot of time hiring undergrads and getting out there with these guys, doing yard work, digging holes, planting trees and shrubs and so forth. And a couple of them ended up becoming KU law students afterwards. But really, trees, particularly evergreen trees, like here we are in the winter now, and I just find looking out the window and seeing green leaves makes me happy in the winter instead of seeing kind of a bleaker environment. So the short answer to your question is, if you can find a southern magnolia tree in Kansas, and my backyard's one of the places you can find them, that's a good thing. You know, a southern magnolia tree, it's green leaves all 12 months of the year. And the winter, that's a really good thing. And it has beautiful white flowers in the spring that have like a lemon scent, is really nice too.
Wow, that's a very good recommendation. I will have to take a look at those later and plan my garden appropriately.
So I lived in Alabama for 10 years, and it was a chance for a Yankee to go to the Deep South and learn about the Deep South. And one of the things I really love down there is a lot of people love landscape, beautiful trees and flowers, and that southern magnolias they've got down there, just, it's my favorite.
Okay, good to know. So next question, what other Green Hall faculty member would you want by your side in an apocalypse?
Apocalypse. Well, there's a lot of good choices. There's a lot of real solid, reliable people in Green Hall. But I think I'm going to go with Lou Mulligan as maybe the most sort of versatile, reliable person. And he's got the biggest supply of dad jokes, which is what we would need in an apocalypse to like keep a lighter tone.
Nice. Yep. Always need somebody to help keep up the conversation. We will go into our lightning round now, Professor Ware. So
Yeah, I'll try to be quick.
Okay. Yeah, there will be 3 rounds. The first round is either or, so just go with your gut. Second round is finish this sentence. And the third round is non-controversial, controversial questions. All right, you ready for the first round?
Shoot.
Okay. Better sports team, Mets or Yankees?
Yankees.
Yankees or Kansas City Royals?
Royals.
Nice. All right, preferred superhero powers, superhuman strength or ability to read minds?
Strength.
Okay. Preferred breakfast meat, sausage or bacon?
Oh, bacon, definitely.
Yes, it's great. All right, better with chicken wings, ranch or blue cheese?
I'm going to say blue cheese.
Okay. Better meal, New York deep dish pizza or KC barbecue?
Honestly, the New York pizza is that thin, flat, oily stuff. So I have to reject this question as inaccurate. You had Chicago deep dish pizza.
Okay,
There.
Chicago deep dish.
Chicago deep. So then I'm going to go with KC barbecue.
Okay, all right, sounds fair. All right, for round 2, finish this sentence. My favorite Seinfeld character is?
Honestly, Elaine is my favorite Seinfeld character. It was such a guy-ish show. So many of the characters were men, and she, to me, just made it by being such a great character.
Yep, she's a great character, and she's had a great follow-on career too. Better than many of the men in that show too.
That's for sure.
All right, next one. Milk and blank.
Cookies.
Greatest legal movie of all time is?
I'm gonna go with Legally Blonde.
Oh, okay. All right. That was on my list of possible movies to help get your thinking going. I would have to say A Few Good Men for me personally. as,
Ah,
as a Navy
that
person.
that fits your career.
All right, on to controversial, non-controversial questions. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I don't think so.
All right, is cereal a soup?
Nah, that's crazy. Who thinks that?
I don't know. I don't think so either. It's not savory, it's not eaten at dinner time, and it's not cooked. So it's not a cereal or not a soup in my book. All right. Who would win a fight between a 500-pound duck or 500 1-pound ducks?
Oh, I think the 1 pound ducks teaming up are impressive.
Yeah, they would have some good strategy going, I think there. All right. Well, thanks, Professor Ware. I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and thanks everyone for watching this iteration of Humans of Green Hall. I hope it has been a benefit to my fellow students and reflects the culture and community at KU Law. Hope everyone is not just thriving, uh, surviving, but thriving during the spring 2021 semester. Catch you guys later.
Thank you, Jared. You make it fun.
Yep.